Hello.
Can you hear me now?
But we just heard the TV
Yeah,
logging
I
in.
did.
Aaron, is this?
That's us.
So can you click, can you go click on that one? Are we muted or?
No, we're not
Oh, no.
muted. We're muted.
Oh, I see.
What's under the more? What's that? It says built-in bottom.
Try,
Do you want
the different speaker. You don't need, it's not the microphone, it's the speaker, right?
Yeah. So try, so,
Yeah.
So go to speaker.
Yeah, just check it out, see, check the other one built in. Leah?
What? Can you hear me?
There. Good job. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, with that, I'm going to call the council meeting for Thursday, August 17th at 7 p.m. to order. Council session. We are late because of technical difficulties for anyone joining in from outside. Welcome. Before we begin our meeting, we'd like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is a Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We have no regrets. So I'm going to move for approval or changes to the agenda, please.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented for August 17th, 2023 combined council meeting.
Moved by Councilor Thurman, seconded please. Seconded by Councilor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Looking for disclosure of interest on agenda items.
I probably should excuse myself due to conflict of interest on 9B.
So that Councilor Ramsey just will participate in the discussion.
I can leave the room for the next one.
I'll ask for consensus.
I'll always went downstairs before.
Okay.
You guys can get a stop and I'll come back up.
I'll write down. Consensus good with that, Council? Great. Thank you. Looking for approval of minutes for a combined council meeting, 23/07/20. July 20th.
I just have a couple of typos, but about it. One is in your report, in the mayor's report. Instead of CEC like in high school, it should be the word CSEA 2 and then CSEA. And so that's in the mayor's report as well as my report. And then by-election should be box BY, not BI. I'll ask the top.
So it goes to amendment.
One, I think, maybe not, Deputy Mayor, the Nancy's event, was that Kite Fest or Tide?
Tide Fest.
Tide Fest, yeah. Tide Fest.
Okay, with those two amendments, have a motion, please.
I'll make that motion that we accept the minutes for the combined session for July 20th, 2023 as amended.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, second, please. Second by Councilor Lang. Kind of a discussion on the motion. Question will be called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. We have no announcements or proclamations. We have no presentations. We have two correspondence. Any discussion on this correspondence? Just here for information.
The question is, note that these are confidential, but are they, I assume they're not now? The letters say these are confidential, not to say anything until such time as a public announcement occurs.
For PCAP or the
Both of them
beautification?
say, both of them.
Did you notice that, Aaron? Because we was, Yeah.
I'm not seeing this. So this suffice for, after they waiting to have.
They may reach out to us. Okay, so we can just say that we won't talk about how much we were awarded, but.
Yeah.
Just keep it safe. Yeah, good catch.
So we were awarded some funds for the PCAP grant that we applied for phase 5 of our water. System.
And same for number B, the beautification.
Yeah, well, Aaron, you can describe what we're going to use it for, and maybe not just the particular amount. Sure. Again, never saw that before, so I'm not sure why we have to. We can skip it, Aaron, and we'll get the
It's
details.
in my report.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving to 9A, staff reports. We'll start with administration.
Okay, I'll just quickly run through any of the updates. We have started construction on Riverside Avenue. We are doing both of, tentatively both of the ends. I think I'll just quickly brief you on that because Jeff will be discussing it in his public works report, staff report. So I'll skip by that. He can give a little bit more detail on the construction. The complaint process, I'll start updating on my report, my financial report going forward, because we're going to share some services with that complaint process with Truro. So I'll detail that going forward on mine. A little less on the new CAO's plate rate to start off with and to keep the flow going. Municipal boundary review is booked in council chambers for August 30th. It's a public hearing. It's at 10 a.m. If anyone wants to attend, certainly some council members should attend, as you are who voted for the reduction in council. TCPEP, we did send a letter of support from the mayor, I say we, I guess you, for the Nova Clinic proposal to Nova Scotia Health Authority. I don't think there's no information, just an update on the JRTA. I updated you last meeting, just that the next one is September 6th, and that'll be all held in person, so not much of an update there. And we will be meeting, and staff will be meeting with Constable Curtis McKinnon. I may staff, okay, regarding some issues we've been recently having with our CMP servicing, where there's been a rash of break-ins, so we'll meet with him. He's off vacation. Myself, the new CAO, and Aaron will meet with him, as well as the mayor, August 23rd. So it's just a brief meeting to discuss the servicing and what we can improve going forward. Period.
I have a couple of questions, actually. One regarding notification to the residents, notification to the residents for the public hearing for the boundary review.
Yep.
Has that gone out? Because I haven't received anything.
Yes, the Nova Scotia Utility Review Board does the advertising themselves. We pay for it, they advertise it.
Right, but I haven't seen it advertised anywhere.
It's advertised, we have a copy from Saltwire, and we
So
pay
is-
that bill.
Okay, so it's in like the Chronicle, is that where it's at?
I'd have to look, but it was, I think, Chronicle, Truro News. Don't quote me on that, I'll get that back to you, but they sent proof of advertisement and the bill to us. And that's
Of course, they
their,
would send the bill.
that's their thing, so they're required to do the notice for the public hearing.
Yes, and I think twice, are they not?
I'm not sure what they're required to do for a public hearing on that they're having. I know we should do for our own
Mhm.
meetings, but I'm not sure what the NSU ARB is required to do.
Okay, I think it's twice. I just looked back to what we did the last time.
They would have
What,
done it.
yes, yeah, and I know it was twice, it's just, I had some residents ask me about it, And I've been looking for the notification and I didn't see it, so I asked. And then the RCMP, just to follow up with the RCMP meeting, is it possible for them to come and do an open house like they used to do with town residents and council?
A townhouse.
So they used to
what are
do an
they
open
doing?
house, they,
Sorry, not them.
that's okay, they used to do an open house, previous councils, they used to do them once a year, but then I don't know if it was because of COVID that it stopped. But
What,
we used,
what was in it? Like, what was involved?
it was just a community meeting with the RCMP, council, and any public, any residents that wanted to attend. And it was strictly, we're here, do you have any concerns? And they used to do it once a year. So I'm just wondering.
I'll check with them. Maybe there's been a turnover. I assume there's been a turnover there.
And with COVID, myself and Mr. Bobo used to meet yearly, the first 2 years
Right,
with possible again.
right.
So nothing in terms of public, so we can look at. So we can look at.
Yeah,
We can ask them in the meeting.
okay, perfect, thanks.
Any more questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to financial. Okay, please.
Okay, so the Riverside Avenue refurb project. We know that there is a big debenture that we're going to need at the end of the project for approximately $1.4 to $2 million. So during the life of the project, they are doing progress draws monthly, so they require payment, and of course, we get 73% from the government. We're on the hook for the other 27%. So what I'm asking for is approval to borrow from the general operating reserve for that interim funding. And what the general operating reserve can't cover, I'm in the process of getting temporary borrowing secured with the RBC. Again, temporary to cover us until the debenture, which now doesn't look like, and depending on when Dexter can finish the project, fiscal 25, which is technically November 2024, would be when we could get debenture funding from MFC, which is the typically lowest interest rate we can get. So we do need something to bridge the cash flow. So the least expensive option is to borrow from our own funds versus going out for debt.
So, just a quick question, so that's not taking out of an investment or anything, right? That's strictly, okay.
Yeah, we don't have any locked in.
Oh,
And then do you put that back in?
Yes.
When you get the.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be a due to from that we'll keep track of to make sure that it goes back in. Some of it we have already budgeted to take out in order to keep our debt ratio in line. So some of it will stay out.
Thank you.
So
you need a motion?
yes, there is a motion.
With that motion now.
Sure.
So I'll move to approve the use of the general operating reserve for temporary borrowing on the Riverside Avenue project up to $400,000 in this fiscal year.
Move by Councilor Berman, second please.
I'll second that.
Second by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Councilor. So I'll take this off.
Yeah, that me. Yes, yes.
Maybe we have that one.
Yeah, wow, good job. Okay, so service sharing with Truro, we've had really great success sharing the building official services, so we're trying to expand that somewhat. As I mentioned earlier, I think we were looking at documentation that Truro currently uses for their complaint process, which they've named their solutions process, solution reporter. So we're gonna start that relatively quickly. It's an $895 a year fee to have a very interactive and up-to-date system to follow your own complaint solutions, whatever, on the website. So we're looking at that, and when we were in discussions with them, there's other services they can offer, sort of the same interactive mapping for development agreements. We're looking at mapping services and development officer to kind of train Leah and other services like that, and potentially engineering services, which Jeff will have to decide what we kind of want to have with that service, but they didn't have capacity before, they do now, so that's kind of exciting with that. Tax sale. So we did not receive any any bids for the tax sale tender that closed on August 2nd. So I have started or advertised for a second tax sale with the submission deadline of September 13th. Now, because we didn't get any, there are options in the MGA for what could potentially happen. So one of the options is that we put in a bid at the minimum, the town, to buy the property at the minimum bid. So that would be for the one that ends on the September 13th. We'd have to decide tonight if we wanted to put a minimum bid in to potentially buy it if no other bids are received. So that's one option. Second option is we do nothing, and then if we receive no bids, when that happens, or if that happens, we can either have another tax sale and not have a minimum bid at that point.
And not?
Yeah, without a minimum bid, so they're essentially, what I'm asking for you here is, right now, and I recommend the second option, which is not putting in a bid and waiting until we see what happens, and potentially taking somewhat of a loss versus putting $30,000 in to a lot that currently is too small to build on. It's 5,400 or 5,600 square feet, and in R1 we need a minimum of 6,500 square feet. So we couldn't do anything with it anyway, essentially, to build on at the $29,000 minimum bid.
What would we,
So like I said, at this time, I would recommend that we just let the tax sale go on. There may be some potential bids, if neighbors want to have that property.
So with the second, if we didn't do anything, like nothing on the second, and then there's no minimum bid, we decide to proceed that way for the third, somebody can bid $10, then we, essentially, and we have to,
You can set a new minimum. bid.
okay, that's what I was gonna ask, can we say?
Yeah.
with 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, or something like that,
Yeah.
it's not a,
Yeah,
it's no minimum, okay, perfect.
So I did include the motion if you decide that you want to do the minimum bid for this one, but otherwise I'm not sure if you take a vote or how we move forward with staff recommending that we do nothing.
the whole council just has to go on the table?
Sure.
So I'll start. Any opinion on it or discussion, open floor to everybody? Chad, or
Yeah,
Councilor?
no, I agree with, just wait and see and put and then minimum bid on it, so.
Okay, Councilor.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the same.
And I guess I'll just reiterate, that's if we don't receive any bids, because we still potentially could be receiving bids.
Thank you. To community development and Ms. Richard, good evening.
Hello, everyone. So summer wraps up this week. Next week is trip week. So we don't have full day camps offered, but we're going around with the kids that registered. It's been very successful, and then next year we're hopefully gonna have 2 consecutive camps running at the same time. Which would be great. So for funding update, back a couple months ago, I applied for funding through the beautification and then funding through Connect 2. We were successful with both. Terms of agreement have been sent. Won't disclose the price until the public announcement is made, but with that beautification, I noted back then, you're applying for funding and benches and painting of this building on the exterior. So that was successful, so we'll wait and see what we can come up with that. And then the other fund was Connect 2, so multi-use pathways. So hopefully, I guess your attachment here, the black lines, we're going to asphalt that. And then we've got those yellow lines up on Main Street West that we'll put crosswalks in. So people aren't running across the busy street up there. And then the little white dots, we're just going to, mark those so people can walk safely up there when they're going from the bridge to Dairy Queen and so on. With that funding.
This fits in with the walkability
It does.
study, doesn't
It does.
Sorry, what did you say, the black lines?
It's gonna be asphalt. Right now, there's nothing there, so there'll be a safe space to walk.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to. Okay.
So will we have the solar lights up there as well?
Yes.
Really good.
Any questions? Thank you. Public Works, Mr. Sibley. Please, Jeff.
Couple things to bring up. I guess basically, everybody's got questions about the storm, I'm sure. Two storms back to back. The second one wasn't really as bad as the first one, but it seemed as bad or worse because of all the damage that was done from the first had been repaired before the second one came, which we still haven't got caught up from. But I think we're pretty much caught up, but we have some areas that we definitely have to look at for these large rain events. We certainly haven't seen many like that for a long time, and let alone two of them in a row. But there is a couple areas there's really only a couple of bad issues that we had, other than like your washouts and stuff like that along the shoulders, but there was two main areas that we will be dealing with in the very near future. Anyway, so the other thing I was gonna bring up tonight was the phase 4 of the well water study. Phase 4 should be completed by in October, which once it's completed, we should be ready for phase 5, which is the design and how we're gonna get the water to the system and the location and everything. But right now, they're working on permitting and stuff like that for the new treatment plant. What was it for that?
What about Riverside Avenue, Jeff?
So Riverside Avenue, I was thinking of talking about that in here, but it's not there. Anyway, so Riverside Avenue, we're starting basically at the bottom end, working our way up. We're gonna just connect the end of the line to the new development that's going there. We're running from the new development back to the second manhole, just at that end, but basically the focus is from the other end coming this way. And we won't complete it this year, obviously, it's too late to start now. So we're hopeful that we're gonna go as far as we can get. But the problem with the temporary water hookups is once you get into the cold weather, the water line's above ground, so it'll freeze. So we can only go until that time.
So 2 phases.
Yeah, so come spring, I'll be right back at it. But that'll be the first thing, that'll be on the go as soon as they can get at it in spring.
Any more questions or comments? Councilor
Just
Austin.
a question, like with our falls extending into some of the winter months, can they go, like, does the asphalt plant close now?
There won't be
Still
any there
typically-
won't be any asphalt this year anyway.
Okay,
Whatever gets done, they'll do the asphalt all at once. So we may end up having to deal with some unpaved roads for the winter.
oh, okay,
But it won't, like, it'll be at the bottom end
okay.
and at the other end, I guess.
So have you planned for that, for
Yep.
like gravel or
Yep.
sand?
Gravel.
No, like for
Oh,
like snow and stuff?
Yeah.
Are you looking at that?
yeah,
Yeah.
we sand all the gravel roads now. So whatever's gravel will be sanded and such, so.
Thank you. So with that, we have a motion to accept the staff reports, please.
I'll make that motion that we accept the staff reports as presented for August the 17th, 2023. Ryan Cash.
Move by Councilor Osborne, a second, please. Second by Councilor Lewis. Discussion on the motion? Questions? The question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. We'll go into 9B, and with that, I'll ask Councilor Ramsey to.
Yeah, just give me a text, I guess. Well, we're working this on.
I make a motion to join. Okay, I'll give it a minute. Okay. So in your package, you have a letter from Councilor Ramsey. Do you want me to read that? Anybody does? You have it before you. So with it, it's a request to take a 6-month leave, and he has provided the MGA sections that offer that provision. So I'll let you table up before I ask for the motion.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
Is it a leave or is it just to be considered an ordinary resident so that he can continue coming to council meetings?
Understanding it's a leave, they continue. I don't have clarification on that, Councilor,
Okay.
because in front of me it says a request for leave.
I know, and then when I read the letter,
Okay, so, request for leave, that, I'm gonna say that's an error in the agenda. I gave that to, Leah, so it's not a request for leave, it's a request to, be a non-resident for 6 months. Yeah.
so be considered
So
an
the
ordinary
terminology,
resident.
yes,
Okay,
the terminology on the agenda is wrong, the letter is correct.
okay.
We can do that as part of the motion to make amendment to this.
Is there a motion say leave?
It says,
It says
request
that,
for,
Yeah, let's, if we can amend the motion, that'd be great.
so let's have discussion first, anything before we after that amended. Any concerns? Simple. So with the amended motion, please.
so I'll make that motion that we approve the request to be considered an ordinary resident while residing outside of the municipality of the town of Stewiacke for a period of 6 months up to February 17th, 2024. Yeah.
Moved and seconded by Councilor Perlman. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Councilor.
9C, and I think I have it. So,
Come back.
oh, he's outside. Excuse me,
Are you getting a merit? Thanks.
we'll pause.
Sorry. You heard my trump.
I'm going to apologize.
I heard the stop.
Council Ramsey, the motion has been approved unanimously. We did make one amendment. Councilor Osborne caught it. No request for leave, but a ordinary resident. It's a word here that doesn't line up with the MGA per se, so.
I'm ordinary.
You're a resident. That's a mandate. Okay. So with that, you continue. 9C, I think I have the acronym, Municipality Development Association of Nova Scotia.
No, development officer,
Officer, Mr. Officer. Back to you, Ms.
Association of Nova Scotia, just, information that Leah has joined or has, applied to become a member of that association and to get the training, and, we're looking to Truro again to be her mentor. You have to have a mentor to go through that, so we'll have some officially trained people.
Okay, we'll move on to, oh, sorry, before, any comments on that, or I heard awesome stuff looking down writing. So, thank you. 9D, egress roads, and next over to you, Councilor Osborne.
I was just looking for an open discussion regarding egress roads. I know, it's been on the agenda for a couple of times, but when I looked at the number of roads that have dead ends, there's, where Deputy Mayor Chapman lives, where I live, there's actually the subdivision on Addie Grace. There's a number of areas in the town that have dead ends. And I'm just wondering if we are looking at having a plan. There's now new buildings going down at the end of Riverside. That's a dead end. I don't know if we look at fire plans when we do new construction like that, like with that number of buildings in a small area. Just really all wanted an open discussion on what people thought.
One thing I do know, coming forward with the September meeting for planning and advisory is on the agenda. It was that we didn't have enough quorum in June, so it's been brought forward with Mr. Cook as part of that discussion. So at least that part has been looked at. Do you have anything else in terms of traffic?
That's all I would comment is that is something that PAC is looking at.
I think a big help would be to should have a planner. And before they approve developments, you got to show that you're looking for ways that you can get out. Unfortunately, I can speak for myself and some of the stuff that we've done up there. And, we always leave a couple of options. We can't make people sell their land. The best way that I can see so far to get out of an industry is we left an option to go through and go by Gordy Field down there. And if you walk the land, you'll see that it's flat and it's easy for a road through. Coming out by Bill Jones, I've looked at that as well. And it's just you're into a swampy piece of ground that you run into environmental issues and all kinds of stuff. And the cost of putting roads in. Because there's people that, if they do want to sell their land, they want a fortune for it because they think, it's worth a lot of money. And sometimes it is, but it's a lot of cost is actually putting the road in. Infrastructure is cost. So it's hard to get them to sell because they think, okay, it's worth this. But, that's been my experience. But up at the Ed Grace Lane, we left it to Bruce Vandries. Talked to him, and he's kind of back and forth a little bit on the fence. So, it's not farmland. Farmers don't like to sell land. Talked to Bill Jones. He just bought that property up there. I talked to what's his name? All of the weather windows and doors. They all got me to speak to him, and I went and looked at the land, and it was just too hard to put the road through there. And the best option is, it's down through Gordon's Field. And there's a little chunk of land that Pierre Hanna owns, and that's the best spot I can see. So, but I haven't really, I talked to Pierre a little bit, I haven't talked to Betty yet, or the Gordons yet, but, we'll see how that goes.
Well, we did have a planner look at that. That's what the CBCL report did. It was a planning report specifically to transportation as well in that. So there are some options in that report that we can do going forward. And certainly, I guess part of that would be that the development officer makes sure that if there's any potential or it links up with what they've got in that plan, that we have a conversation about maybe cost sharing or easements or whatever the terminology is. Also too, again, Colchester is doing a Colchester Plan It. And so we are working regionally, which I think is the key to all of this, as well as just in the municipality. And we're aware of, with the fires, there's heightened awareness of the egress roads. So I think we're moving forward fairly well, and we do have a document there. Colchester's working on a document with us. We're part of that group now, and joint regional transportation that is high on their priority too of interconnection.
Is the area where Deputy Mayor Chapman on that as well? If there's new development happening down on Hemlock? Yeah, then.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, is the area where Deputy Mayor Chapman resides also in that plan, like that? Are we looking at that area? Because if Hemlock is developed as much as what it looks like it's going to, then you're going to have a number of
have houses there that only have one way in, one way out.
I think there's other people in town that own the other property.
Yeah.
That they are looking at, and it would give it the second option, the waiver.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think, but before, if we had the development officer, before they approve any plans, they should definitely make sure that's gonna happen.
Because I do think right now St. Andrews would be relatively high on the list for
Yeah.
something needing an
Yeah.
egress
It's such
road.
a long street.
And it's getting highly
I agree
developed.
with you, it's just getting everybody on the same.
No, I know, and I heard the same thing about the land.
So. Anyways, I'm trying.
And I'll just throw this, I heard this morning we were talking about roads in Nova Scotia with the province. They threw out a value of $1 million a kilometer, so it's significant. It's a significant undertaking.
Yeah, it was $600 a foot. That's what it was costing, and I don't know if we can do it for that now.
So how long would that egress road be?
But the problem is, you put the road in, all you like, you need to develop both sides of the road to make it pay. You can't, like, you gotta develop both sides of the road, or just, you cannot charge enough for lots here, even in Studiac. I know we're getting a lot more for lots here in Studiac now.
Yeah.
But, you've gotta be able to get lots on both sides of the road. So,
So is that part of our planning process now, that we ask for egress or a way out, or whatever the right term is? Or is that something we're going to start to do?
Well, I'll just speak for the one or two plans that I've seen in the last few months that Leah and I have looked at with Jeff and Grant. And we do consider that, specifically in the Perry Lake development, how there is so much land behind there, right? How we can keep the traffic flow going and not just onto Main Street and Highway 2. So it is front line.
Okay.
Do we have a process yet? No, but I think that's critical. We're working on a process where we consider all that.
One more question. And this is, it's timely to talk about this and all the weather events we're having. Are we gonna have to look at doing things differently, like bigger pipes, different drainage? Like, is this just the beginning of a whole lot more?
Generally, we're not bad, but we do have some areas that we are gonna have to look at upsizing.
Mhm.
But not significant, I don't think,
No,
because all the new development is pretty well covered.
and it handled, the newer development handled the flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in the training I'm taking and too, and that some of the engineering drawings we're getting, wastewater seems to be more of a focus now. So I would say that the engineers are handling that.
Thank you.
Stormwater management is part of submission.
Oh, sorry, I said wastewater, right, stormwater.
So let's specific word, stormwater management.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Osborne. So we did the temporary borrowing reserves.
Yep.
Already?
Yep.
Thought that was my
Yeah, and I guess I didn't put it on the agenda, but just an update on the Colchester Joint Council meeting is at their chamber at 7 PM. And their chambers are on 1 Church Street.
On the 22nd?
Yes,
At
7 PM.
nothing for bylaw policies tonight. So with that, I'm going to go to citizen comments. We have people in the gallery and in person. Ms. Bennett, would you check and see if anyone has comments in the gallery first?
I have no comments as of yet.
The floor is open for anybody here, citizen comments. Mr. Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to make a comment in my statement to the council. It's prepared, and I'm not a public speaker, so I'll ask you now to forgive me if I stumble along the way. But I also did make enough copies to distribute to council, if that would be helpful.
Just a clarification, you can bring information forward. We do not entertain questions. at this level. So I'll pull the council. Is it within decorum to take information on the council table? Well, there's nothing that said there's not, I don't believe. It's a statement, right?
But it is information.
Okay, I'll allow that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor, councilors, thank you for letting me speak. I had the good fortune in 2009 to find a home in our town of Steviak. And because of this, my intentions have been to try and give back to my town, our town, however I could, especially after retiring in 2019. I have volunteered time to participate in various committees, such as the Pandemic Emergency Response Committee, Police Advisory Committee, and when Councillor Camille passed away and a by-election was called, I wanted to offer and try and contribute even further and again, based on my own career in municipal government after 25 years as a public servant. In February, my candidacy was officially launched in the upcoming by-election. I was quite happy to see that we had 4 potential candidates come forward, giving our citizens, which I would only assume are good options and points of views. We live in a small town, and so many of us know each other through town activities and community events. I knew who Terry Stewart was, as she is a direct neighbor and a good one at that. I honestly didn't know David LeBlanc or Pam Osborne, but of course, did take the time to read their published literature and still felt good about all the options that were presented. After conclusion of the election and official announcement of the results, I was still happy. We had a new councillor to replace our dear Mary Camille, and the business of council continued, which was crucial with all the growth coming to town. We needed to maintain a solid, talented, and invested mayor, council, and staff. Sorry, I'm nervous. My first action after receiving the results of the February 25th election by returning officer Dale Vogel was to reach out to Ms. Osborne to congratulate her on her win. I thought to myself, great, now we, the town and council, are back at full strength and continue to forge ahead with the critical business facing Stewiacke, our growth and resulting challenges. On March 17th, I was invited to a meeting at Town Hall with the acting returning officer, Dale Vogel. I arrived at that same meeting where fellow candidates, Ms. Terry Stewart and David LeBlanc. At the meeting, the returning officer presented us with what could be only called as disturbing evidence of anomalies and irregularities in the analysis of the election results. Mr. Vogel told us he had met previously with Ms. Osborne, who was the apparent winner, separately as a courtesy, but also shown the same evidence related to concerns and possible remedies. There was some discussion and debate, and we three, Stewart, LeBlanc, and I, concluded that the results should be challenged and investigated, but only because the results between the top 2 candidates had been so close, within 6 votes. We all agreed that had the anomalies been less than a very narrow margin of 6, it wouldn't have been in anyone's interest, including the town's, to challenge the results. But it was close. And the anomalies exceeded the number of votes in the difference. And that was crucial. It disturbed me that Ms. Osborne did not move to challenge results by this process, although she would have been aware of A, the discrepancies and the anomalies as we were, the option to use the municipal elections act to challenge the results. Initially, I gave Ms. Osborne the benefit of the doubt, concluding she must not understand. Challenging the results was not any way aimed at her, but at the system used and with the problems encountered in the electronic process. Now, for information purposes, Ms. Osborne had the same information and the same choice, which would and should have been the moral high ground and the road to take. But under the legislation, we had to add Ms. Osborne as a respondent, simply because she did not join as an applicant, and so the legislation required us to name her as a respondent. That was the only reason. No one, and let me repeat, no one required formal service by bailiff except Ms. Osborne. Returning officer and former CAO Dale Vogel, town lawyer Charles Thompson, all had no issue with court documents being served electronically by email. Only Ms. Osborne refused to accept and avoided every attempt to communicate, be it by her published cell phone number, either direct call, voicemail, or text message, or email to both her personal and official town email address. I might add, I wasn't just a candidate, I'm a town resident. We don't have division of wards. Each councillor that sits on this council is responsive to every person in this town. And this councillor was approached and refused to respond. I thank the council for allowing me the time to make these comments, try and defend my integrity and the integrity of my fellow candidates who have just tried to do the right thing for our town and our neighbors. Our democracy is being challenged on almost every side. Municipal politics and business are the least attended either during public meetings or during elections, which deeply saddens me, and I can't help but challenge all my friends and neighbors to please start paying attention, more attention to town business. The town's transparency has gotten so much better through posting of official documents, budgets, councils, expenses. Town business has the biggest impact on our lives on a daily basis, be it infrastructure, roads, parks, playgrounds, sports facilities, youth activities, with any other level of government, more than any other level of government. It isn't tainted by party politics. There's no one here that identifies as a liberal, NDP, a PC. There's none of that. And this is the only level of government that we have. That nonsense doesn't come into it. And I thank God for that. So please get involved. Watch council meetings, express your views, ideas, and concerns. Not on Facebook chat, but where it counts, at the source, your town, your councillors, and town administration, which I think we have a fabulous staff, by the way. Please stop using these chat sites as gospel. They are not. And most times, are misleading. I cannot count how many times I read comments on these chat sites that were completely full of inaccuracy, when the truth was a click away on the town's official website. There are many memes picking, poking, and joking at of, oh, I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. It is not. We know that. I'm a fan of community-related social media sites. They really are great for a place to ask for recommendations on local services, local events. But remember, when it comes to commenting on local government policy, budgets, events are not the official or nor reliable source for that information, nor discourse. Finally, I'd like to ask council to add to the next council agenda, time for me to make a presentation to council, specifically to address Councillor Osborne's accusations of being harassed or abused. Ms. Osborne or her family, specifically her mother, by me, Ms. Stewart or Mr. LeBlanc. I think it only fair if Ms. Osborne is allowed to have a public platform to level accusations and innuendos against me personally. We also should be afforded the opportunity to publicly respond. Part of this presentation will include a video that completely disproves Ms. Osborne's claim that her mother was abused or harassed. I thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors, for your time.
Any more comments from in person, or Lee, I'll ask you to check one more time in the gallery, please.
No, nothing more in here.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to reports. If the mayor's leaving, she's not doing things. Good night. Okay. My report for August 17th. July 27th, I attended the REMAX session at the Emergency Coordinator Center in Truro, and I'll add the Deputy Mayor Chapman, where she's not here. Also attended a workshop that's coming forward from EMO, and it's going to be at the Rec Center in Truro, October the 24th. I don't have a time, and that may have been Sunday. If not, I'll make sure it's forward to you. And if you can attend, try to attend. I've also reached out to Mr. Westlake and asked if we're going to do an afternoon session. Could be something before evenings for councillors that can't attend. So I'll give back his yourself or someone at that point. August 1st, I had lunch with former Town of Studiac CEO Sheldon Doherty. Sheldon's in town and asked for lunch. Had a wonderful conversation about the past, the present, the future. I met Sheldon at the FCM in Toronto, and we had a couple chats, and it was a great time to see. And he's super impressed by how the town's progressing, and so to say hi to people he knows here. It was a nice luncheon. August 2nd, the HR committee, or recruitment committee, met with Patrick Harding and members of that committee to finalize his bring forward for the hire for the CEO. August 3rd to 6th, I attended various town days activities. Thank you to committee members, staff, public works, volunteers, and especially Aaron Richard for your successful event, especially with the last minute changes and juggling to, I'm guessing, midnight or beyond. So thank you, Aaron, as always, above and beyond. August 11th, I issued a letter to the citizens of the town of Studiac regarding an increase in the attempted break-ins and advised accordingly against specific activities to the RCMP. I requested an increase that day. The RCMP President Studiac and ongoing until the situation is resolved as an interim measure. I've also requested data on the number of calls the RCMP received in the last year, and that should be forwarded in the next few days. I will distribute that to council when I receive those. A meeting, as what you said, has been set up with the RCMP, and we'll bring that forward as we go. We may have that at that point. So. August 11th, I met with Municipality of District of East Hants Ward and Eleanor Ralston to discuss the upcoming Atlantic Mayor's Congress in Goose Bay. August 13th, I met with Municipality of Colchester County Mayor Christine Blair, and as regards to the upcoming joint session for next week with both councils. And just a point of note, we're not sure if motions are going to be required for that because it's discussion. So there may be a motion to entertain that we're there at the table, but nothing in terms of bring forward. And I think the CEO is looking at that. Jason can advise us if we go forward. Jason, oh, yeah. Scott has advised. Weekly meeting has continued with our interim CEO, Randy Bucke. Thank you. We've had 2 HR committee meetings beyond the meeting with Mr. Hartling. I'm pleased to report, as Mr. Sibley said today, that the new waterworks infrastructure, concrete curbs, concrete sidewalks, and asphalt paving for Riverside Avenue will be started in the fall and completed in the spring. And kudos to you, Jeff, for all your hard work and staff. Thank you to the interim CEO, Ms. Bookie, and I'll never get that name right. So
I give up.
if I say Randy, it's not insulting, right?
No, at least you can pronounce that.
I can say that, kind of. I want to thank you sincerely, the management team. It was a team effort, the staff, Public Works. It's been busy and it's been hard the last few weeks with these storm events. We've stepped up to ensure business as usual is taking place in the town. It doesn't get done without effort, and you had that. Again, thank you. And finally, we welcome our new Town of Stewiacke CEO, Greg Brown. Starts Monday. I'm gonna give him an hour, then I'm coming in at 10 o'clock, and Randy has it for the first hour, and then the HR committee will eventually meet with Mr. Brown. So again, thank you, staff. Jeff, please pass on to your staff. I sincerely appreciate it. And that's my report. So Deputy Mayor has left. Councillor Roots.
I don't have anything that I wanted to.
Mr. Ramsey.
Nothing worthwhile saying.
I don't look up the screen tonight, so. Councillor Osborne.
Just want to congratulate Aaron and all the last minute changes. I was part of, helped with the K9 flyers and that was the last minute change. So just kudos on the great town days. It's always great to see old friends and meet new friends. So that's it.
That's what I mean.
Nothing from me, thank you.
That's good.
Just a couple things, in helping with town days and the history event we had at the community center, I had the pleasure of talking to longtime resident Betty Dickey, and she's given us some articles, and I think there will be more things coming of historical significance. So somewhere down the road, maybe we can talk about how we preserve some of these items, and thank Councillor Ramsey for bringing us to it turned out to be a good event, and thanks to Aaron and staff and the rest of the committee. It was fun being on town days this year, I can't always say that. Also, I wanted to, I guess the last thing I guess I'll just echo the mayor's comments. Next week we get to meet our new CAO, and I wanted to thank the staff as well. Trying to think of a pun, but I can't think of it. Anyway, thank you for rising to the challenge, keeping us on track. Okay.
That's a tip.
Yeah,
And,
and to keep things going, and not only keep them going, but keep them progressing. So thank you to all. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor. We have no in-camera sessions. Looking for a notice of motion and reconsideration. And with that, at 8:02, council, be safe. We are adjourned.
Think over.